Alright guys, today we are going to do episode 2 of the Do-Over series. Today I'm going to be taking the Arizona Coyotes and seeing if we reverse the 3 biggest mistakes they've made in the last 3 years to some franchise glory finally. So I'm No Sleeps 12, and this is the Arizona Coyotes Do-Over. Oh god, the Coyotes suck. So guys, if you missed episode 1, let me go over the rules real quick. We can redo any move that they've made in the last 3 seasons, starting with the draft from 2015. Any draft picks can be reselected, but they have to be within 3 spots lower. Obviously, it can't be higher because they never would have gotten a chance at that player, and I'm not going to make it where someone drafted in the 6th round was a gem that they would take in the 2nd, because that just realistically wouldn't happen. And any re-signs have to be for roughly the same value. You can't save $7 million and then go spend $15, that kind of stuff. So let's see what we can do with the Coyotes. The first one's pretty easy. Sorry, Leaf fans, but in 2015, with the 3rd overall pick, the Coyotes selected Dylan Strome, and the Leafs went one behind them, selecting Mitch Marner. Now, the jury's still out if Dylan Strome will become an elite center, but at the meantime, he's not even a consistent NHLer. At this point, it doesn't really matter. Mitch Marner has already shown that he's a very, very good forward, a top-line player, and will drastically change the outlook on the Coyotes' forward group, so this was an easy do-over. These are the kind of trades that make sports so interesting. By reversing one trade that no one really pays attention to, it completely alters a franchise entirely. So let's start with this, because this is in 2 pieces. On June 25th, 2016, at the 2016 NHL entry draft, the Coyotes traded their 2nd-round pick for former 19th overall pick in 2014, Anthony DeAngelo. But what would have happened had the Coyotes kept that pick and used it correctly? Well, it completely changes the game. So the Lightning ended up taking Libor Hajek, a defenseman that isn't in the NHL at all. But 2 spots later, the Chicago Blackhawks drafted Alex DeBrincat. So by reversing this trade and using that pick correctly, we've got another forward to add to an already growing forward group with Mitch Marner. Things are starting to take shape. So this next one's a hot take. So in 2017, the Coyotes shocked everyone by trading their 7th overall pick for Antti Raanta and Derek Stepan to the Rangers, which isn't a terrible trade, because the Rangers selected Lias Andersson, who's a very good player. But what happens if you reverse this trade and you select Casey Mittelstadt instead of Lias Andersson with that 7th overall pick? Well, it gives the Coyotes yet another forward that has the potential to be a game breaker. And going into this franchise, obviously it would be more beneficial to have Mittelstadt with the potential he has over Derek Stepan and Antti Raanta, as their ceilings are kind of already at their limits. So I reversed this trade and sent Lias Andersson to the Sabres, which is just torturing the Sabres even more than they already are. But hey, here we are, and we're going to see how this changes the Coyotes' outlook. So guys, let's get into the Arizona Coyotes franchise do-over. We've traded Mitch Marner for Dylan Strome. We've reversed the Anthony DeAngelo trade and selected Alex DeBrincat. And we took Casey Mittelstadt instead of trading the 7th overall pick for Stepan and Antti Raanta, and they ended up drafting Lias Andersson, but we took Mittelstadt instead when keeping that pick and not doing the trade. So it'll be interesting to see, because we've kind of taken a step back with Raanta and Stepan for Mittelstadt in the short term, but I think in the long term it's going to be much better, and then obviously adding DeBrincat and Marner significantly improves the Coyotes going into this season. So here is what we're working with after all those do-overs. We have Galchenyuk and Marner, and on defense is where things are not so bad. And then in net, we've got Kemper. We're going to need to do something about that, because not having Antti Raanta is actually a significant downgrade, and in net, that's a pretty big hole to fill. But our first line is Keller, Galchenyuk, and Marner. I'm actually not that bummed out about that, and I think that we've got a pretty good forward group, but we're going to have to make some trades. So let's get into the moves that we made prior to the season starting. So as I'm looking through the trade block, I see that Colorado wants to move Philip Grubauer. Now, even though in the game that's what they would want to do, there's no way the Avalanche would realistically move Grubauer after signing him to a pretty good contract. And I know that he's going to be part of their future going forward, especially after helping the Caps all season last year. So I'm not going to trade for him. Now, what I will do, go after someone who I know wants to be moved, and that's Antti Raanta from the Rangers, because he was already moved to the Arizona Coyotes, but see if we can get him for a little bit better deal than what the Coyotes had to give up originally. So instead of moving the 7th overall pick for Lias Andersson for Raanta and Stepan, how about the Coyotes Pierre-Olivier Joseph, and a 3rd for Antti Raanta to see if we can get a starting goaltender. And sure enough, that move is accepted. Not really giving up anything too much because, again, while Pierre-Olivier Joseph might turn out to be a decent defenseman, I only really have 3 seasons to try and win a cup in the do-over series, and I need a starting goaltender, and a later first-round pick isn't worth the wait currently. So this is a decent deal, and I got my starting goaltender. So now let's mess around with the lineup. Throw Mittelstadt into the lineup, and again, it's a pretty average core, but it has a lot of potential. So we move Mittelstadt up, but we're going to have to see if Mittelstadt can go play on the wing because a third-line center is really just not going to develop him fast enough. So we have Keller, Galchenyuk, and Marner on the first line. Mittelstadt, DeBrincat, and Fischer. We have Grabner and Lawson Crouse for depth, as well as Brandon Pertolini, and then Richard Panik. Again, the bottom 6 is where it gets kind of rough, but the top 6 I'm pretty happy about with Mittelstadt as well. Christian Fischer's also a pretty good winger, so I'm good with this forward group. Defense is where the Coyotes excel. Larson, Hjalmarsson, Goligoski, Demers, Chenchrin, and Osterley is a very, very good defensive core. Then combine that net with Antti Raanta and Kemper, and we have a decent team. It's obviously much better than what it was, especially with that Mitch Marner trade. But we're going to see going into the season if we can't hold it together, because I still think that there's going to be some pieces that we have to add to get them over the hump and into the playoffs early. Next, before the season starts, we got to fix the captain issue. This is Oliver Ekman-Larsson's team, and there's really no other candidate for captaincy on the Arizona Coyotes that I see, so Larsson's going to be our captain going into this season. We got Hjalmarsson as the other assistant, and then franchise rookie Clayton Keller as well. I think these guys are going to lead the boys to a playoff run here in the first season of the do-over. So guys, it's time to start the season. We're starting off with the Dallas Stars. We get it to a big 2-0 lead in the first. Follow that up with another goal. It's 3-1. And after the third period, it is 3-2. We've won our first game. The Coyotes, the new-look Coyotes. The 3-2 win to start the season. We're rolling right along here. Well, even I didn't expect this from the Coyotes this early on in the season. So as I'm simming through the first month of our season here, we're on quite a little winning streak. Don't really lose in regulation until about the second last game of the month. But we lose Richard Panik for a couple weeks, as well as Christian Dvorak. So those were the only changes we had to make. We moved Mittelstadt up in the lineup at center to replace Dvorak, who was having a decent start to the season. And we put in Vinny Hinostroza to replace him. Again, not big changes and not huge losses so far, but we end up with finishing October with a really, really good 7-1-3, and things are looking bright already for these Yotes. So just checking in on our leaders in points and whatnot through the first month. Oliver Ekman-Larsson leads with 11, but Dvorak, Grabner, and Fischer all point per game so far. Not going to lie, Grabner and Fischer are a little surprising. Galchenyuk, DeBrincat, and Keller rounded out. So we've gotten really good scoring all the way throughout our lineup through the first month, which is no surprise because we're 7-1-3. So I thought it better to just skip kind of the things when someone gets injured and editing the roster and everything like that. So we lose Mittelstadt for a little bit, which just kind of sucks because we've already lost Dvorak. We also lose Goligoski and Demers for a spell, and it kind of shows in our record. We're also offered a trade for Demers, but it's for a second and third round pick, and that's just not going to do anything. It's kind of pointless for me to do. We end the month going 6-5-2, and yeah, we've kind of fallen to 5th in the Pacific Division, which all seem to be having very good seasons. And seems like it's going to be a dogfight so far early on. So after 2 months, we have Larson still out in front in points. He's actually over a point per game with Keller right behind him at 25. Galchenyuk had a big month along with Marner with 23 and 24. Fischer and Dvorak kind of fell off. And then Grabner and the rest of it. The one that's kind of alarming was Mittelstadt, but he missed some time, so I'm okay with that. And plus, you know, he's stuck on the third line because Dvorak got hurt. Horvat's having a fantastic year for the Vancouver Canucks, but yeah, let's see if December we can turn it around in the standings. Moving right along into December, and again, we have another 500 month. Finished the month going 7-5-3, and again dealing with a lot of injuries. Goligoski goes down, as well as Nicholas Hjalmarsson, so the defense takes quite a hit during this little run. So after the first month where we went 7-1-3, we've kind of gone 500 since, and we're just really coasting in the Pacific, which is okay again because it is very early on in the season, and at least we did have that month because we're about 10 games over 500. So I'm okay with that, and hopefully we can make some trades and see if we can kind of get over the hump here. And let's just recap how we're doing. We're still 5th in the Pacific, but we're in a wild card spot, so that's okay. Clayton Keller is becoming quite the franchise player with 36 points in 39 games, as well as Galchenyuk and Marner, so that first line's really doing its job. Ekman-Larsson still continues to be a force on the back end with 31 points in 39 games, and Grabner and Dvorak and Perlini, as well as Fisher, to be honest with you, are providing depth scoring. DeBrincat only has 14 points, but he's been injured quite a bit, only has 24 games played. And Middleset has 6 and 25. I think we got to move him around in the lineup. We're into January, so we're going into the 4th month of the season, and it's much of the same. It's much of the same from November, December. Very slow, just 500. Our Coyotes are just hanging in. We went 5-5-1 in January. Injuries are starting to become a concern because Dvorak can't seem to stay in the lineup. Demers, same thing. I don't know if their injury rating is really low or it's just bad coincidence, but they can't seem to stay in the lineup. One thing I do want to mention, why did they take out the All-Star game? I know no one ever played it. Some people did, I guess, but the fact that you actually had players representing it was one of the cooler parts of franchise mode. But so here we are, 25, 16, and 9 after January. And just to update on the standings, we're 4th in the Pacific, still in a wild card spot by quite a bit. And our points leader is now Mitch Marner. So again, that move at the beginning of the season to get Marner instead of Dylan Strome, obviously paying off there. So this is kind of the make or break month with the trade deadline. So I kind of wait and see what we're going to be. We get a ton of trade offers though. So the Devils want to swap picks. This move doesn't make any sense, so that's a full deny. Another one for Grabner in 2 seconds. I'm starting to think if I fail this season, I could sell off and see if I can't get some assets for going into next season, but I want to see how this month goes. Another Grabner offer for a couple picks doesn't do me any good as my forward depth is already really weak. So we keep going along here. A Hjalmarsson offer for a 1st and 2nd. This one was kind of tempting, but again, Hjalmarsson's so important to my decor, and we're still in a playoff spot. So we keep carrying on here. 30, 17, and 9. We're in a playoff spot. We're starting to climb the division. Demers for a 2nd and a 3rd again doesn't make sense. The decor doesn't want to. I don't want to take away from it, especially because he's so important. Grabner for a 2nd. Again, not worth it. I'm really not sure what I want to move, and I want to see how these next few weeks go. Hjalmarsson for 2 seconds, and Stanley again. Hjalmarsson's kind of a cornerstone on that top pairing with Ekman-Larsson. Let's keep going. Goligoski for Zaboral and a 4th rounder. This one I kind of thought about because I didn't know what Zaboral's trade value would be. But again, he's too low, and I really just don't want to wait. I want to see if I can get the Coyotes to go on a good run this season. So that's a hard deny. Keep going through the month of February here. We're 31, 18, and 9, and the Sharks get in on Hjalmarsson, 1st and 2nd. Again, these are pretty decent offers considering I can at least get some assets going into next season, but we're doing really well here. Hjalmarsson for Valimaki in a 3rd. This is the one that I kind of really wanted to accept, again, because Valimaki's 1st-round pick, a lot of trade value, as well as a 2nd rounder, but again, with 32, 20, and 9, I just want to keep plowing on here and see what I can do in the playoffs. Round 1 and 2 for Hjalmarsson, and it's time to take them off the block. Merkley goes up on there, again, because I don't really need him. I can move him, but a 1st-round pick doesn't get me, or a couple round picks don't get me anything, and Cale Clegg doesn't do me any good either, so that's a deny. And here we are at the deadline, and the problem is that my forward group, my top 6, my wingers outside of Marner, just aren't doing it. I need a good 2nd-line winger that can score. So I go out and look, and Jordan Eberle, he's on the block. So I decide to see if I can't make a move for him. So I offer up my 1st. I'm okay with that again because it's going to be a later pick hopefully, as well as my 2nd. They don't bite on that, so I throw in another 2nd for the following year, and Vinny Hinostroza, and I get Jordan Eberle. So he's having a pretty good season, about point-per-game player this season, so I'm okay with that. He slots in on my 2nd line, and it's time to push forward here, guys. I think I have a good enough decor, and the forward group with Eberle when everyone's healthy is quite good. So first game after the trade deadline is against Florida, and look at that. We win 3-2. Checking the stats, and pretty balanced scoring throughout. Eberle got his 1st point as a Coyote, and we're moving right along here into March. This is going to be a big month, so we're 4th in the division right now, and we got to push and lock up with that playoff spot. So let's finish up the month here with a win against Vancouver, and now we're into March. And look at that, adding another top 6 forward has these Coyotes flying. In March, we go 12-2-2, jump out to first in the Pacific Division, and we got ourselves set right up for a good playoff run after the acquisition of Jordan Eberle. We also get almost everyone back from injury as well, so going into the playoffs, I feel a lot more confidence. So if I look right here that we are first, and Mitch Marner still leading the team with 60 points in 73 games. You want to see him have a little bit more, but that's completely okay considering he wasn't even on the roster had we kept Dylan Strome and not reversed that bad mistake. So as we finish up March here, again, like I said, we went 12-2-2, and we've got just a few games left to finish out the season. So going into the last week of the season, we are in first place in the entire division with over 100 points. Ekman Larson leading the team with 66 points from the back end, with Marner with 65 in 79 games. Fantastic season from the captain, Ekman Larson. As we're going through here, Grabner and DeBrincat with decent seasons. DeBrincat had 45 points in 61 games. Obviously, he was hurt a ton, but again, that was a key acquisition from the do-over. Middleset, again, kind of disappointing. 21 points in 58 games, but he's only a 79, and his career just started. So yeah, we are out in front in the Pacific, and we just have to hold off with one more win, and we will win the Pacific Division. So let's go ahead and sim that, and we have in fact won the Pacific Division. Not bad for those Coyotes. So as we wait to finish out the year here, we find out our first round opponent in the playoffs with our do-over Coyotes, and it's going to be the Edmonton Oilers. How fitting considering I started the franchise do-over series with the Oilers, and we're going to face them in the first round. So just looking over the end of the year, it looks like in the West we've got the Coyotes versus the Oilers, Kings and Flames, Nashville, Ducks, Wild, Dallas. On the East we've got Boston, Columbus, Tampa, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, the Canadiens, and the Hurricanes, and the Capitals. Just to take a look at our team at the end of the season, it looks like Marner finished with 73 points. So did Ekman Larson. Unreal season from the back end, with Keller also finishing with 70. Among defensemen, Ekman Larson did finish with the league lead in points among defensemen, so hopefully we have a Norris nom as well. So let's see what happens in the first round, boys. So just taking a quick look over the lineup, we have Middlestad out again, so Nick Cousins is filling in on the second line of DeBrincat and Eberle. Fisher, Dvorak, Perlini has pretty much stayed together the whole season on the third line, and we're looking to see if we can't use our defense core, which is Ekman Larson, Hjalmarsson, Goligoski, Demers, and Osterley there with Chentrin, to see if we can't scrape out a playoff win. So let's see what happens. So let's get into Game 1. After the first period, it is 1-1 in Game 1. Eberle, so our trade deadline acquisition, showing up early. After the second, it's 3-2. Christian Fischer scores for the Coyotes. And in the third period, 2 huge goals, one by Eberle again to win it, and Galchenyuk. So Eberle showing his presence, that trade acquisition at the deadline was worth it. So here we are, boys, with a big Game 1 win in the first round. And look who's back in for Game 2. So we get Middlestad back into the lineup because Cousins actually got hurt, so that works perfectly. Middlestad gets to make his debut in the playoffs. We're going to put him on. He's up to an 82 now. We're going to leave him on the second line, and we're going into Game 2 if we can't go up 2-0 on these Oilers. So here we go. And after the first period, it's 1-0 Edmonton again. After the second, it's 3-1 Edmonton. Things aren't looking so good. And then things fall apart in the third, and we lose 6-1 in Game 2. That's not a good sign, so let's see if we can rebound in Game 3. So we're going on the road for Game 3, and it is 0-0 after the first period. And then after the second period, we're up 1-0 going into the third. It's time to see if we can't sim this in slow time here. So as we're going through the period here, we actually end up getting scored on, and now it is 1-1 with about 10 minutes to go in the third period. Continue on. It's getting close to the end of the game. This is for to go up 2-1 in the series, and I think it's time that we see a little hockey, boys.
This game is going to wind down and be close right to the final horn.
All tied up in the final minute of regulation. Score!
Huge sauce from Middlestead over to Eberle, and he makes no mistake. With under a minute to go in Game 3, Eberle puts this team on his back, and we're up with just under a minute to go in the third.
Before time expires. It's frantic time. Under a minute to go. On to Drysdale. And he missed the net.
Boy, if he puts that one in, that gives them a real serious chance to get back in this game.
Takes that pat. Slid to McDavid. Edmonton's pulling their goalie, saying, take a chance. Why not? Wonderful save. What a skill level there.
What a great scoring chance in the slot, but the goalie got on top of that in a hurry. Great glove save.
That one's flopped in.
At this point in the game, you cannot afford to make any mistakes. That puck's got to get in deep.
Good place to shoot from. Oh, a save there. We knew there'd be a 2-1.
Huge Game 3 win with that last-minute goal, and we're going into Game 4 with the series up 2-1. Well, boys, let's see if we can get a stranglehold on the series. So after the first period, it is 1-0, and after the second, well, all right. So on to Game 5. That was ugly. Yikes. All right, guys, so on to Game 5 after that last Game 4 explosion. That was terrible. So after the first period, we are up 1-0. Solid start with a goal from Hjalmarsson. Second period, Cassian ties it up. It is now 1-1 going into the third period. Sim with time here. Edmonton goes up 2-1 with a goal from Nugent Hopkins with 15 minutes to go, and about a minute later, McDavid scores again. So this is getting ugly. As we continue the sim here in the third period, we need a goal here, boys. Big goal to tie it up. And it's 3-2. Let's go. All right, let's finish this one out, guys.
And more to come. The Coyotes with a win at center.
At this point in the game, you cannot afford to make any mistakes. That puck's got to get in deep.
Cuts off the passing lane in the defensive zone. Directing that one to Reeder. Net empty. Great chance, but he missed. It's now 3-2. And if it's Game 6 ahead, that means could be handshakes.
Oh, boys, you heard the man. We lose this and we're done. So let's get into Game 6. It's 2-1 after 1. Getting a little nervous. It's 5-1 after 1. Let's go, boys. Let's force a Game 7. 10-2. These Yotes with 5 goals in the third period. Let's take a look who blew up here. Eberle with big 4 points. He's having a playoff run already. Big acquisition. Literally 2 players on the entire roster that didn't get a point. That's balanced scoring. Let's go Game 7. Here we go, boys. Game 7. First period. 1-1. Wouldn't have it any other way. We're doing the slow sim here, boys. It's getting intense. We're just waiting. I really don't want to have to do, I don't want to get knocked in the first round with Arizona. Here we go. We're coming into the end of the second, and we are tied at 1s, boys. We're tied at 1s going into Game 7. Let's keep it going. 2-1, big goal, boys, early in the third. Here we go. We're up 2-1 in Game 7. Time's ticking down. Tick, 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 tick. This is the longest sim of my life. We got 5 minutes left. We gotta put this in, boys. Let's sit back and watch.
Chikrin's blocked so many pucks over the last couple of games. You would think you'd like to stick handle one of them once in a while.
That puck's got to get in deep.
In the slot. Hatchets one. Oh, deflected away. Laid on to Nugent Hopkins. Puck loose. Strong defensive play by Eberle. Waning seconds of this Stanley Cup playoff game. One team will move on to round 2. The other is out. This series is over, and the winners move on.
Fans at home now will be celebrating tonight as their team wraps this series up.
tournament rolled on. Energized play ended only by a final horn. Good night from all of us.
Alright guys, so we took out the Oilers in 7. Let's look around. We are now into the second round against the Kings, who beat the Flames. The other Western matchup, we've got the Wild facing the Ducks. The Predators and Stars both getting ousted. In the East, we've got the Lightning versus the Blue Jackets, and the Pens versus the Caps. Man, those guys can't get away from each other. Alright guys, so let's get into game 1 of the second round. Through the first period, it is 1-1 with goals from Perlini and Iafallo. Through 2 periods, it is still 1-1. We're going into the third, boys. Big game 1 of the second round. We're going to time sim this. And that's a big win. Big win for the Yotes. And we're going on to game 2. Alright guys, and we're on to game 2 in the Western Conference semifinals. And through the first period, we are up 1-0. With goals from Eberle again. This dude's on fire. Through 2 periods, it is still 1-0. And through 3, that is 4-0. Eberle with another one. Middlestat with a goal. These Coyotes are rolling 2-0 in the Western Conference semis. We're rolling right along here, guys. Eberle has 11 points in 9 games so far. What a deadline acquisition. My goodness. Here we are in game 3. Through the first period, it is 1-1. We've got goals from Kempe and Galchenyuk. Through 2, it's 4-1 Kings. Kings showing some life, and that's going to do it for Game 3. So they get on the board in the series. It is 2-1. We're into Game 4, guys. Pivotal game of the series. We want to go up 3-1. Through the first period, it is 1-0 for these Yotes with Ekman Larson, the captain. Through 2 periods, it's still 1-0. And let's fast forward this third period, see where we're at. Big goal from Panic. Depth scoring is key in the playoffs, and we're up 2-0 with about 10 minutes to go. 3-0 on the power play with DeBrincat. And there it is, boys. We're up 3-1 in the series. One more win, and we're into the Western Conference Finals. All right, guys, Game 5 with a chance to go to the Western Conference Finals on the line here. Let's go into the first period here. Through 1, we're up 1-0 with a goal from Mitch Marner, a redo player. Let's go. Through 2, another goal from Mitch Marner. And here we go into the third period, potential elimination game here for us. And let's see if we can't finish out the Kings. God, I hate the Kings so much.
The Coyotes control from the neutral zone. The Kings yank their goalie to try and get this back. Knocks it away with the stick. And now it's directed to Middlestat. He scores!
That one should put the icing on.
Puck dropped in the logjam, and the winger reached in and got it. A thundering ovation here. They're used to hearing it by now because as it goes for the Stanley Cup, their team is halfway. They haven't reached the ultimate yet, but this is an enormous step. They have clinched this series.
The players are going to feel awfully good about wrapping up this series, but they're going to have to rein it in and prepare for the next round.
And as the tournament moves closer to its conclusion, we hope you'll anticipate the next games as much as we do. This one was fine for us tonight. We hope you enjoyed it, and good night for all of us.
Alright guys, so full disclosure, I did not think my Arizona Coyotes sim would go this well in the first season, but here we are. So, into the conference finals, and we're taking on the Ducks. I also hate the Ducks. I'm a diehard Sharks fan. Anyways, in the East, we've got the Capitals taking out the Pens in 7. Again, here we are, the Caps beating the Pens for the second year in a row. And they're going up against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So, potential Stanley Cup repeat for the Capitals. Let's see what happens in the Western Conference Finals. Alright guys, so we are in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Through the first period, we are up 2-0. These Coyotes just carrying on. Lawson, Krause, and Perlini through 2. We're still up 2-0, and we're going to end the game with a 2-1 win. These Coyotes are rolling, guys. Let's go. Heading into Game 2, we're already up 1-0 in the series, and through the first period, we are 0-0. Simming through the second, we are up 3-0. Keller, Ekman, Larson, and Keller again. These Coyotes, it's 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals. Let's go. All right, guys, Game 3, trying to take a stranglehold so that we can get to the Cup Finals in Year 1 of the Arizona redo. And through the first period in Game 3, it is 1-0 Coyotes with another goal from Alex DeBrincat. Through 2, it's Jason Demers putting us up 2-0. And through 3, that's 2-1. It's 3-0 Coyotes, 1 win away from the finals, guys. All right, guys, Game 4, potential sweep to the finals here. Through the first period, it is 2-1 for these Coyotes with goals from Fisher and Galchenyuk. Through 2, it is 3-3, goal with another goal from Galchenyuk. We're going into the third period, tied 3-3. We're going to do a slow sim here. Anaheim gets on the board with Ryan Getzlaf. Not good. Let's keep going. A little bit further on, and we tie it up. Let's go Coyotes here. Middlestad with a big one to tie it up. We're going to have to watch how this one plays out, boys.
And more to come.
I'm not so sure any of the coaches want this game to be played like.
Into the attacking end. Shoots one. Score!
Always dangerous once you break a tie that you would sit back and try to protect the lead. I think you have to stay aggressive and play in the other end.
To Silverberg. Carries it on in from center. Anaheim's yanking their goalie. Nothing to wait for here. Turned a shot on net. Score! Not much time left, but this one is tied.
Wow, we were so close to that sweep, but man, what a finish to this game. We're going to overtime. Let's have it, boys.
One is tied at 5. The next goal probably isn't going to win it. It's going to take 5 more. Pass cut. Kasha's trying to get out of his own end. Close in play. Score! The overtime winner. And the players spill over the boards to celebrate. They can look at the history books and talk about team.
All right, guys, we're going into a Game 5 here. Let's see if we can't end this early. All right, so through the first period, we have a 0-0 tie. Let's go on to the second. And through 2, it's still 0-0. This is coming down to the wire yet again in Game 5 for the trip to the Stanley Cup Final on the line. Let's see how this one plays out.
A huge face-off win at a critical point here. Pass attempt. Whistle. Centermen practice this so many times at the end of their game day workouts. And here comes the biggest one for score! Back and forth they go between the points. Score! And this game is not over. It's tied.
He had played so well tonight. He tracked the puck well. He was able to see most of the shots, and he finally gives one up late here in the third period.
Real talk, guys, this is hilarious to watch. 2 straight games with goals in the last minute to tie it up. We're going to overtime yet again to see if we can't move on to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Gets in, looks over his options here. Shot. Solid glove save. To Perry. Points it. Takes a shot. That shot glanced off the post. win it. A shot. Score! And the overtime is finished. They've won this one in extra time, overtime, and they battled hard for this, though they...
All right, we need to change up the lines here because that's 2 straight overtime losses. So we're going to put Eberle up on the top line with Keller and Galchenyuk. Middlestad is going to stay with DeBrincat and Mitch Marner. Third line, Dvorak, Fisher, and Perlini. We're going to see if we can't finish this in 6 because it's now starting to get extremely frustrating. All right, Game 6. Time to end this and go to the finals. No more of this reverse sweep crap. Man, the Ducks are brutal. So through the first period, it is 2-1 Coyotes with goals from Galchenyuk and Grabner. Through 2 periods, it is 2-2. Getzlaf ties it up. All right, on to the third here. We need to end it. I really don't want to go to a Game 7 with a reverse sweep on the line. And as we're simming through the third period, down through 10 minutes left, here we go. It's getting close. I'm getting a little nervous. It's time to finish this one off, guys.
Couldn't retain possession. Moving well with it in the defensive zone. Gets that one on a cross. Score! And sent down to Raquel. Only a few seconds to go here, and they will have crossed round 3. This series is over, and the winners move on.
Fans at home, Doc, will be celebrating tonight as their team wraps this series up.
Named for the longtime president of the NHL is the Clarence Campbell Bowl, and it goes to the Western Conference team that has its sights set on a Stanley Cup next time. But will they touch this one or not? That's always the question. The playoffs continue with our next game. We hope you'll look forward to that one as much as we are.
Guys, we are in the Stanley Cup Finals in the first season of the Arizona Coyotes do-over. Unbelievable. I did not expect the Coyotes to go this well, but let's finish it off and finish with that cup in the first 3 seasons. That's the goal. So now we got to sim and see who we're going to play, and it looks like the Caps and Blue Jackets are going to a Game 7, and it's going to be the Blue Jackets. Coyotes, Blue Jackets, just like everyone predicted. So let's get right into Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, guys. Through the first period, we are tied 1-1 with goals from Dubinsky and Galchenyuk. Through 2, it is 2-2 with Duclair and Eberle getting on the board. And into the third period we go here. Now we're going to do slow slim with Skinner scoring on Antti Ranta. That sucks. We're down 3-2 with about 10 minutes to go left in the third. Let's see if the boys can tie it up. And the empty netter is going to do it. So the Blue Jackets take Game 1. On to Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. Through the first period, we have a tie game 0-0. Through the second, it ends up being 1-0. And we're going to sim through the third and see if we can't hold it out and come up and tie the series here. We've got about 10 minutes to go left in the game. These Coyotes are holding tough, trying to tie this up and get the first cup in franchise history. It's going to do it 1-0 shutout for the Arizona Coyotes. It's 1-1. We're going into Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. Through the first period, it's 0-0. After 2, it's 1-0 Columbus. We're going to slow sim the third here. And that's how it's going to end. Back-to-back 1-0 games, and Columbus leads the series 2-1. Going to need a big performance for the Coyotes to tie it up in Game 4 here. So, through the first period, it's 1-0 Coyotes with Ekman Larson get on the board. And through 2, it is 3. And that's how it's going to end, boys. 3-0 shutout win for the Coyotes, and this is going to Game 5, tied 2-2. And here we are in Game 5. Through the first period, these Coyotes are up 2-0 with goals from Demers and Fisher. Through the second period, it's 2-1. Nyquist gets on the board for Columbus. We're going to see if we can't hold out for that 2-1 win in Game 5 to take a 3-2 lead in the series. And DeBrincat scores to make it 3-1. That's a huge goal. Another do-over guy just coming through in the clutch. That's all she wrote, boys. One win away from the Stanley Cup Final in the first season of the Arizona Coyotes do-over. Hold on to your butts, boys. Here goes Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals, up 3-2 with a chance to win. Here we go. Through the first period, the Coyotes are up 1-0 with goals from Mitch Marner. Who else? Through 2, it is 3-1 Columbus. We're going to slow play the third period. Hopefully the boys got some battle back to avoid that nasty Game 7. It's 4-1 with Dubinsky scoring. This is getting ugly, guys. And that's going to do it. We've got ourselves a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals. And here we go. Game 7, Stanley Cup on the line of the Arizona Coyotes do-over. Here we go. So, through the first period, it's 1-0 Coyotes early. Let's go. We're going to slow play this first period out just to build up a little more suspense because I can't handle it. And it's 2-0. 2-0 big in the first period, guys. And it's 3-0 Christian Fischer. Huge play by these Coyotes in the first period. Let's sim the second period. It's 3-0. And here goes the third, boys. 4-0 Coyotes. We're on route to a gigantic Game 7 win for these Arizona Coyotes. 5-0. Middlestad scores again. And Columbus finally gets on the board, but it looks like it's going to be a little too late. Let's jump in and see how it ends.
And by Ekman Larson. Arizona's moving the puck up the wing. Back to the point. Fires! Score! He's got his second of the game. Hammered. Ooh, stick save. Didn't get through. And yet another save. How does he do that?
What quickness side to side.
Presented since 1893. In their imagination, it never looked as good as it will. The Stanley Cup, the horn, the hockey game, and the title, and now a new name accompanies their team name at this horn, champions.
I'm not really sure where this tradition originated, but it's one that separates our sport, I believe, from a lot of the others. The players come together, congratulate each other on a hard-fought series, but it doesn't mean that you actually like the guy that you're shaking hands with.
The man-chosen playoff MVP gets the Conn Smythe Trophy. Boy, is this ever well-deserved.
There's always a little bit of an odd feeling when the Conn Smythe Trophy is handed out because it's an individual award when everybody is here to see the best trophy in sports presented, and that will come next.
It's often said it's the hardest prize to win because it takes 8 weeks. Tradition, the captain is the first to hold it high.
No matter where you look in the hockey world over the next little while, that picture will be the first one that you see. It will also be in his home in a prominent position, I imagine, a moment he'll never forget. As long as the Stanley Cup has been presented on the ice, and then the players have made a victory lap with it, there's been a pecking order as to how the cup is handed off. Nobody really talks about it. It just organically happens. But everybody knows there's a seniority to the way that this 30-pound trophy is presented player to player.
and the final event of any Stanley Cup celebration. What we see on the ice last is everyone gathered together for a very happy Stanley Cup team picture.
Well, guys, that was episode 2 in the Do-Over series. By drafting Marner instead of Strome, by not trading for Anthony DeAngelo and drafting Alex DeBrincat, and not trading for Stepan and Ranta and instead drafting Casey Middlestad, these Yotes got a cup. And I mean, all I really did in the season was trade for Antti Ranta and Jordan Eberle, and they weren't superstars, so that's pretty crazy. Maybe they're not as far off as everyone thinks. So guys, if you like the content, next week, the 3rd episode in the Do-Over series is the Toronto Maple Leafs. So you don't want to miss that. Thank you guys for all the subscription and follows. I just hit 5K on YouTube and 2,000 on Twitch. Couldn't be happier. Thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys next week. Stay sweet.